Good evening. At 6 o'clock, we'll start the Common Council meeting in the city of Marshfield, Tuesday, March 11th at 207 West 6th Street. Call to order, roll call. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item C, identify possible conflicts of interest. Seeing none, move on to item D, public comment period, correspondence. At this time, I will recognize members in attendance wishing to address the council. Upon recognition by me, persons may address the council, first stating their name and address. Comments will be limited to no more than 5 minutes, and persons are asked to be respectful when addressing the council. No action will be taken regarding items not on the agenda. However, the council will take comments from the public under advisement. Please note that council members will not respond to your comments or questions. Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Seeing none, move on to item E, approval of minutes from the February 25th, 2025 regular meeting. We have a motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Varsho. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Staff updates. Information on the April 1st referendum for public safety funding, Everett Rail Fire Chief.
All right. Good evening, and thank you. Just wanted to give you kind of an update, just a quick update on what we've been doing with the referendum. It's in full swing at this point. We did get the flyers out. Those went out to each one of the addresses in the city of Marshfield. I believe we have about 8,808 that we actually got those delivered out to. And I really want to say thank you very much to the communication department for working on that. They did a great job and really got it out. Listening sessions, we already got one underneath our belt, which was UW Stevens Point. That would have been on March 6th at 6:30. I appreciate some that were able to attend, and I think we're hoping to have a little bit better attendance at the other ones. I think we had probably about 3 or 4 people there. Some were city staff, but not a lot. And looking to try to get more. We've got session 2 coming up at the Hotel Marshfield Central Ballroom. That one's going to be on March 13th. And then session 3 at the Community Center at the Drendel Room. That one will be March 27th, all at 6:30 p.m. So really looking forward to those. Hopefully get some people out with some questions and we can answer those questions for them. We also had a few interviews. You might have seen me on the thing. I always say that I've got a face for radio, and I've been on the news way more than I want to. So I've got News Channel 7, multiple news segments there where they ran it multiple times. News Channel 9, they came in and did a presentation, and also worked with the Marshfield Broadcasting. We got one out there, and that's kind of running in a loop, and we've been working with that one over time. So it's been a good one. Also looking at some of the periodicals, we did get something out in the Marshfield News Herald. We have something on Focus. Hub City Times, trying to get a hold of them, and then also City Newspaper and e-newsletter. That's been in there multiple times. So we've been trying to really publicize that and see if we can answer any of the questions they may have. Looking to do some site visits. We've got Angeles Retirement Home over at 305 South Chestnut. I was able to get over there and speak on one of it and answered some questions that they may have had. That worked out pretty well. 601 South Cedar and 606 South Walnut. I've got a couple dates on March 25th, 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. for those 2 locations. So we'll be going over to speak on those particular topics. And then also the Wildwood Regency Home, March 19th at 2 p.m. Looking to get over there and kind of speak on that. So if they've got some questions they may have, they can ask me. Also going to try to reach out to some community groups, but that's kind of what we've been doing. I think so far I haven't heard a lot of feedback one way or the other. I think it's been a little bit on the quiet side, but if you have any questions or anything like that, you can always direct them to me, and I'll be glad to answer any of those questions. So that's it for the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nicely done your interviews, and thank you, Fire Chief Mueller. Mayor's comments. I have a few this evening. The first one, I'm excited to announce that ADRC office will be moving into the 2nd Street Community Center as a satellite office starting mid-April. They'll be open a couple days a week in the office. Otherwise, you can just reach them by email or by phone. So this is exciting for Marshall that we're going to have the ADRC in the 2nd Street community. Number 2, congratulations to Deputy Clerk Ashley Drager. She studied hard and received her bachelor's degree. Way to go, Ashley. Congratulations. Number 3, if you're interested in being on a committee, commission, or board, please send an email to my office. Include your name, address, phone number, and email. Also a short bio with qualifications and why you would like to serve. Please have them sent to me by the end of March. Looking forward to seeing some letters coming in. This is a great way to have your voice heard and learn more about the city. You can follow the city website for more information. You can watch on our channel, because Tom is going to do some different things with showing us some of the committees and how they work, which will give you a little more information. You can also contact me by phone or by email. Number 4, don't forget all the great things that happen at 2nd Street Community Center. Check out the website or just come in person and enjoy. You will be overwhelmed at what they all offer there, and you do not have to be a senior to go there. That is the greatest part about this. You can be any age, and they offer all kinds of different things. So I challenge you to check the website out and just give it a whirl. It's kind of fun. If you like to walk, they even have a walking path there. And the 5th item that I'd like to reach out this evening to anybody, reach out to any alderman, city staff, or myself with any questions or concerns. This is how we get to know what you as the public wants from us. And maybe you've got some ideas that we haven't reached a concern about, or maybe that we can get together to make things better for Marshfield. Just go to the city website for all the information. And there ends my mayor's report. Thank you. Item H, council comments. Alderman Werman.
Thank you. As it pertains to the update from Everett Mueller, I just wanted to kind of let people know that I have already had several people call and push back, and I've tried to educate on the referendum. So more of an open call to the public. Please attend these sessions and ask your questions, and then a recommendation for communications and Chief Mueller. I would recommend partnering and maybe doing some short snips, because I asked right away, have you attended any sessions or watched any videos? And the answer was no. And I was able to answer as many questions as possible, but I do think that people are a little burnt out, like we've talked about as a council here, from taxes and referendums after the school board recently. So just would recommend that we try to educate as much as possible and advise people to go to those, but also try to take advantage of the small little things that we can do to help them out. So like I said, short little 1-minute videos or something. The biggest complaint I heard was that they don't understand the 15.9 million, which is that increased levy limit. So that was tough to explain, but would recommend that if anybody reaches out to you, go back to the documentation that we had, reach out to Chief Mueller, and then try to point them in the right direction.
Thank you, Alderman Werman. Alderman Stauber.
Yes, on Saturday morning, we'll have some dignitaries in Marshfield. Harry and Birg Dodge were the 2 that helped rescue Muncie and Boda from the Kodiak Island. And they're back from Alaska, and they'll be visiting the bears on Saturday morning, time to be determined. But if you ever want to meet some genuine people that, with a good story, go down to the zoo, and I'm sure they'll be there for most of the morning.
Thank you, Alderman Stauber. Anybody else? Thank you. City Administrator's update.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, a couple things. First of all, I want to thank Everett and Tom and David from Communications for all the work they've been doing. We've talked already quite a bit about the referendum, but behind this thing, the scenes thing that you don't see how much work they've done into getting the word out, putting materials together, promoting so that people understand. Hopefully they're informed and educated as they get ready to make a decision. Thank to you as well, Derek, for your comments. Secondly, I just want to announce something I probably don't report a whole lot from here, but we do have within about a 30-day period, we're going to have 3 closings on properties in Daniels Edition, our subdivision out there in the area of Lincoln and 5th. But my reason really for saying this is there's still a number of lots out there. So we do seem to be having interest, but don't feel like you're being pushed out. If you have any interest and you're seeing this at all, love to have you check those lots out there. Definitely having activity in that subdivision. And then finally, just to let you know that on the 15th of April, we will have our annual meeting. It's an organizational meeting for the new council. The election's on the very first day of April, so 2 weeks later, 3rd Tuesday of the month, the new council will be seated, and there'll be a different schedule. I think those of you who've been around know what this looks like, where we have JL committee, finance, budget, and personnel, the special council meeting to take the oath of office and have committee assignments, and then plan commission afterwards. So look for that to be sent out to you by email again, but that'll run from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock for starting times on the 15th. So that would not normally be on your calendar. Please mark it. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, Administrator Berg. Item J, reports from commissions, boards, and committees. Seeing none, consent agenda. Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you. I have been tasked with reminding everyone, at the Utility Commission meeting this week, we were informed we do have a substantial dividend that's going to be coming to the city this year. I just want to stress the fact that it has been acknowledged that in the 5 years following, we are anticipating 0 dividends. So spend wisely, people. It's going to be slim to none. So I'm excited to hear about what we're getting this year. I'm not going to repeat the number because I can't remember it exactly, but it's substantial. So just wanted to mention that for everyone.
Thank you. Alderman Werman.
Thank you. I did want to give a shout out to the Central Wisconsin State Fair Board. I think I gave an update in January, but they did just announce their rock show, which is a band called Hailstorm. As a rock fan, I'm unfamiliar, but they've already sold out VIP tickets, and I know it was a little bit of a gamble for them because they haven't done a real rock show in a while, and they definitely went a little bit on the higher side to try to pull this band in. So it's a really big win. So let's hope the weather cooperates with us this year, but definitely wanted to give them some kudos.
Thank you, and thank you for that extra kudos. Absolutely. Item K, consent agenda, meeting minutes and reports. Motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman Giles. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. And we can skip item L because there's no action removed. Item M, request to approve budget resolution number 09-2025, increasing the TIF District number 15 fund budget by $150,000 to appropriate developer incentive expenditures, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, about a year ago, we created TIF District 15. It covers a portion of the Mill Creek Business Park and some other areas. It's actually called the Blighted District. Again, blight is different than maybe you might think about it. It doesn't mean buildings are falling down all over the place, but it's an area that could see more vibrancy and development, and we're hoping that that's what happens. And then shortly after that, we signed a development agreement with Weinbrenner to relocate from downtown and build a new 70,000 square foot facility in TIF District 15. And they're doing wonderfully. They're really going to town out there, and they expect to be occupying in early 2026. Part of the deal we had with them, as we have with many companies that we end up signing development agreements with, is that you pay for the land up front, and then if you fulfill all the requirements, we will refund the purchase price as part of you meeting your obligations. So what we're asking for tonight is to transfer $150,000 from the appropriate fund to TIF to that district, to 205, I should say, to where we can spend the money from. Sorry for stumbling there for a minute. Because we will be giving money out as milestones are achieved. That company has met their first milestone in terms of getting the foundation in, and they're entitled to a partial payment. But we want to transfer the entire amount because we know future payments are expected in the coming year. So with that in mind, staff would recommend approval of Budget Resolution 09-2025, increasing actually the TID 15 fund budget to allow for these development expenditures.
Motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman Spiros. Any comments, questions? Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you. I guess I'm just curious, that 150,000, is that the purchase price for the property? The total amount, is that?
It is. For the full acreage was $150,000 is what they paid.
And what is the anticipated timeline for them to reach all the goals?
It would be probably the end of November of this year. They were expecting, the last I talked to them, to be completed by November 30th of 2025, not take full possession, if you will, until the end of the first quarter of 2026, because there'll be a 3 or 4 month transition. But they do expect to have the building up before the end of this year in its entirety and ready for action.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it looks like the bones are up. It's coming up quick now, so it's looking good. I just wanted to explain that.
Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Request to approve budget resolution number 10-2025, carrying forward $42,680 in unexpended 2024 funds to complete construction of the pickleball courts at Brain Park, presented by Jennifer Solinsky, Finance Director.
Good evening. The 2023 capital improvement plan for the city included a project for the construction of pickleball courts at Brain Park. This $597,500 project includes funding from debt service, room tax, and generous donations. Construction began in 2024 and is nearly complete, with the exception of some minor punch list items that will be wrapped up in this early summer of 2025. The city budgeted the full amount of the project in 2024 and now needs to carry forward and appropriate the unspent amount in the 2025 budget. So with that, I would recommend council approval of budget resolution 10-2025 to carry forward $42,680 of unspent 2024 funds in the Parks and Rec fund for the purpose of completing construction of the pickleball courts.
We have a motion by Alderman Giles, second by Alderman Werman. Alderman O'Reilly.
Thank you again. With this money, that is the full amount that would complete the contract?
It is the full amount that was originally budgeted back in the 20 project.
And we do have some anticipated revenue that will come in from the pickleball club for monies that they had raised.
Correct.
So I want to verify, where is that money going to go? Would that go back into the general fund then at that point if we're paying it all off out of this?
Well, the remaining expenditures have not been incurred. So once those projects are done and we're invoiced, then we will request the money to be transferred to the city from, it's being held at the Marshfield Area Community Foundation, and they will then remit that to the city in order for us to meet our obligations.
But the money would go into the...
It goes in the Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Fund. All of our capital expenditures are accounted for in separate.
But the money that they were going to pay for the portion of this contract, we're paying it out of that fund already, shouldn't that come back into the general fund at that point?
There hasn't been anything spent out of the general fund.
Okay.
As it relates to the pickleball courts.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item O, second reading of ordinance number 1527, approving 5-year update to Marshfield Fairgrounds Park Campus Master Plan, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, for this item and the one following, I'll be a little bit shorter probably than I was during first reading, which is typical of how staff brings them forward. That's not trying to cut your questions, but just trying to not go over the same territory over and over. This is part of a plan that we have to get a number of the campuses, we call them, the medical campus, the airport campus, the fairgrounds campus, and others, to do a 5-year plan so that we can work together. We know what they're expecting to do. We know that if it involves infrastructure improvements or those kind of things, we can be prepared for what might be necessary from our end to help facilitate the growth and development of those areas. In this case, this is a 5-year update of the campus master plan for the fairgrounds. And if you had a chance to look at it, I probably mentioned this 2 weeks ago, there really is not a lot happening or expected to happen in terms of major improvements during the next 5 years. Really, the things that were talked about a little bit at the public hearing before the Planning Commission last month focused on improvements that might happen between 5, 10, 20-year periods. We talked about the horse arena. We talked about the expo center, all those kind of things that are hoped for with fundraising and those kind of things to come together. But those are not actually part of the plan. They're referenced, but effectively, in terms of what's going to happen in the next 5 years, they're not anticipated at this time, unless, of course, major donors come forward and they could be moved up. So it's not real radical. At the public hearing, some comments were made by a couple of residents, and they talked about parking and traffic and dust. So those things were discussed. Stormwater came up too as well. And Dale Christensen of Central Wisconsin State Fair was on the call. Justin was here as well. So they heard those comments. I think we've heard before about some of the dust problems when there's traffic going on and how it maybe affects some of the area residents. So those items were discussed, and I think they're still being addressed as we go along and will be as we go into the summer. In fact, there were some comments made about how we can make it a little bit better in the summer of 2025. But all that said, staff would recommend approval of ordinance 1527, adopting the campus master plan update by, for the Marshfield Fairgrounds Park.
Motion by Alderman Stauber, second by Alderman Varsho. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Weigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item P, second reading of ordinance number 1528, amending Marshfield Municipal Code, section 18-28 SR-4 and section 18-29 SR-6 to amend density, intensity, and bulk regulations related to minimum setbacks and lot area requirements, and also the maximum building coverage of lot requirements presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this one's brought to you by staff, and I think we're pretty excited about that. We're driving it, and other people have brought it up too. Development Services staff has mentioned this. We've heard from other people in the community from time to time that these smaller lots can't be built on. You know, you have a 40-foot wide lot, and maybe the house falls down, it burns down, or something happens, and you can't rebuild because you can't meet the current standards. Under the current code, you can't meet the front, rear, and side yard setbacks. You can't meet the lot coverage. All these kind of things don't fit with the code that is intended maybe more for wider and deeper lots. So the thought is where it would be appropriate in SR6 and SR4 districts, we would relax the setbacks, making it possible for people to develop those properties. The so-called infill lots, where there's one here, one there, scattered around the community. We need housing, and this would be an opportunity to get it in an area where it would actually fit well with the surrounding homes. So you saw in the memo, if you had a chance to look at it, like I mentioned, it involves everything from front, side, and rear yard setbacks, lot width, lot depth, total coverage, total size of the lot. And we're hopeful that if the council sees fit to pass this ordinance, that we can get the word out to people through any means possible, whether it be realtors, developers, just the general public knowing, and the people who own these lots, that in fact, there's an opportunity now to develop them and actually put houses on that would fit with the surrounding area, and so that they can dig in and go after them. So with all that said, staff would recommend approval of ordinance 1528.
Motion by Alderman Tompkins, second by Alderman Curran. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, oops, right under the gun, Alderman Moretti.
I can't let one slide.
That's quite all right.
I just
It's the
have to
Michael Riley
express
show.
how excited I am about
Yes,
this. This was a long time in the making, and we do have a shortage of affordable housing. And this is about as close as we're going to be able to get to it. So I'm very happy to see this finally coming forward. So thank you to the staff and everyone involved.
Yes, thank you, Mike, and I definitely mirror that also. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Weigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item Q, request to accept proposal to perform an organizational structure analysis of the city's economic development function and direct staff to draft the necessary budget resolution for consideration by the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee, presented by Steve Barg, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, whenever I go talk to my peers in other communities, almost everybody says the most important thing that they're working on is economic development. How do we attract and retain quality businesses? How do we grow our tax base? How do we provide employment for our residents? That's the number one thing that they're facing. Public safety is important. I'm not knocking that. Parks and recreation, everything is. But so many communities are trying to get and keep quality companies in their community. Well, with that in mind, the last couple of years have been pretty tough on us because we've had a lot of change. We've had a couple of staff positions that have been vacant, and we haven't been able to fill them. The Director of Development Services and the Senior Planner position. We've had a turnover at Mackey with the Business Development Director position. They are in the process now of hiring somebody or have just hired them. But the gap with Karen Olson, who was a long-time skilled person who knew the players and really could work with the city staff and others to get things done, has left. Marshfield Utilities has been talking about maybe hiring an economic development staff person. They haven't gotten around to that yet. A number of things have happened. The Economic Development Board disbanded about a year ago, a little under a year ago. So we have this kind of vacuum about how we do economic development. It's more than just doing stuff. It's about what is the structure? What's the best structure for effective economic development? What does it look like? And we kind of felt at staff level, this might be a good time to look at it and say to ourselves, who are the players? We have Visit Marshfield, they do great work. Mackey, Main Street, so many others. And how do we make get the best bang for the buck by what it looks like? Who works on what? How do we communicate and collaborate to be effective in getting those companies to come, stay, and grow in our community? So with that in mind, we talked to Kristen Fish. We've dealt with her before. She actually did our first economic development plan about 10 years ago, but we've been in contact with her many times. I work with Kristen quite often because I'm on the CWED board, Central Wisconsin Economic Development Board, as the city's representative. And her company, Redevelopment Resources, does a great job of leading the group in that one and working to get low interest loans for companies in Central Wisconsin. So Josh Miller, our economic development consultant, reached out to her and said, would you be interested in taking a look for us? And she's given a fairly low cost proposal to us to do just that, to meet with Main Street, Mackey, city staff, visit Marshfield and others, find out what everybody does and say, okay, here would be the best model for the city of Marshfield to actively and effectively grow the community and have the kind of synergy among the players where everybody knows what they're doing. They're not always in their lane. They're working together, but they understand what the mission is. And they have that structure built in. With that in mind, I think that we would do well to accept this proposal from Redevelopment Resources. It's for about 39 hours of Kristen's time. You see in the proposal what that would all entail. The cost is about $6,000. We do not have money budgeted for this, so if you do feel compelled to approve this with a motion, you would also, I would ask, be directing us to bring a budget resolution to the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee. The likely financial source for this would be the 205 Economic Development Fund. With that in mind, staff would recommend approval, or acceptance, I should say, of the proposal from Redevelopment Resources and to direct staff to prepare a budget resolution for the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee.
We have a motion by Alderman Stauber, second by Alderman Varsho. Alderman Stauber.
Yep, thanks, Mayor. So I was pleased to see this in the packet, Steve. Thinking back to when we attempted to fill the position of Assistant City Administrator, Community Development Director, this is exactly what I had envisioned that person might do, is just kind of take a look at what do we have and how can we bind all this together and come up with an economic development strategy. I would also like to say, don't sell yourself short. You've done a fine job with economic development. Weinbrenner is just one example. There are quite a few. And housing development, it's all good, and you've handled yourself very well and have some good success. So thank you for that. And the other thing, finally, the timing of this, I think, couldn't be better. The strategic planning sessions that'll probably begin in June, this will support that and help us maybe have some direction. Thanks for bringing it forward here.
Alderman Werman.
Thank you. That was going to be my comment, actually, is we've got those strategic planning meetings. If we're going to move forward with this, especially knowing that we don't have money budgeted, I feel that we need to pull those in. I think waiting halfway through the year was already a little bit of a concern that we had, but if we're going to move forward and start focusing on economic development, then I think we need to pull that in so we have a better understanding of where we're going as a whole instead of working on just one component of it.
Alderman Tompkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't understand what you just said, but wait, did you mean like pull it in before the meeting? Like before the June when we have the planning, have this one first? Okay, good. Okay, all right. I just wanted to say that I very much would like to see this come out of the 205 fund because I think it is a very appropriate use of the dividend money from the utilities. So that's what I wanted to say.
If I could comment, going back to the comment, especially made by Councilmember Stauber, I appreciate that. Two things. Number one, I agree with you and Councilmember Werman about the strategic plan. And I'm surprised I didn't make a note to mention that myself. The timing is going to be really good. And then secondarily, I just want to talk about, thank you for the nice words, but I got to speak to, we have Jennifer Selensky, our finance director, Josh Moritz, our public works director. Josh Miller's done an outstanding job as our economic development consultant. Mayor, you're involved on that team. And really appreciate the folks we've had who've been driving the ship together on some of these projects, sometimes without, they have a lot on their plate already. So just want to acknowledge it's a team effort.
Alderman Weigel.
Thank you. Apologize if I'm splitting hairs here, but just to confirm, we were asking for recommendations to improve the economic development of the city. And I'm sorry,
no, it's not really about improvement. It's all about the structure. I know when you talk about economic development, you talk about structure, process, and of course there's results that you hope to get from attracting and keeping quality employers. But this, what we're paying, if we do this, what we're paying Kristen Fish to do is to help us look at what would be the best structure for economic development for the city in terms of who does what, how they partner together, who's responsible for what different areas, what areas there are for collaboration and cooperation. We've kind of gone for a long time where we just, okay, EDB gets disbanded, what do we do? Well, we just go on. We need to have a more holistic approach to what we're doing.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. All those in favor?
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item R, request to authorize the city administrator to provide written notice to the city's intent to renegotiate its current agreement with Visit Marshfield, presented by Steve Barg, city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we mentioned that we're about to study economic development and we're going to get someone to help us look at the structure. Let's just take a little visit here with Visit Marshfield and how they play. And they're an important part of the community. They're an important part of our economic development strategy. Had a great relationship with them for the years. They've done an excellent job in promoting and encouraging tourism in our community. They partnered with Main Street, Mackey, and others to do special events that bring visitors to town. They create room stays. They also create interest in our community. People that may want to come back at another time and spend more time here. And Maple Fall Fest, one of the most popular and successful festivals we have in this town for many years. And Matt, you and your team do a great job with that. The current agreement with Visit Marshfield expires a year from this June on the 2026. And as we get closer and closer to that time, we need to decide whether or not we're going to renew for another 4 years or some period of time after that. If you look at the current contract, we have to give them notice 1 year in advance, or they have to give us notice 1 year in advance as well, either party, if you want to renegotiate. I bring this to you tonight with no expectations of what that means or even looks like, but in the spirit of the fact that we're talking about economic development, who we want to be doing what that should look like, how we can be working together as team players, it seems appropriate to serve that notice to them, let them know that we'd like to visit with them, talk with them about what they do, look at ways to maybe make it even better in terms of how we have all the players involved in growing the community and from an economic standpoint. So with that in mind, staff would recommend authorization to me to provide written notice to the city, to Visit Marshfield, of the city's intent to renegotiate the tourism entity agreement with Visit Marshfield as provided for in section 10 of the current contract.
We have a motion by Alderman Giles, second by Alderman O'Reilly. Alderman Spiros.
Thank you. I'm a little confused about this. So the contract doesn't end until June of 2026, but there is a caveat in there, something about a year's notice, which would be June of this year. So you're not you're not just going through and this contract and we're just gonna say, yes, this is what we want and sign it for another couple of years. Because that doesn't make sense to me when the very last bullet point of this meeting was to bring in a consultant to tell us the best way for everybody to be involved in economic development. Why wouldn't it be smarter to wait to renegotiate that contract after we hear what the person that we're bringing in that specializes in this has to say?
Well, we don't have to start the conversation right away with Visit Marshfield, but we do need to put a marker in of our intent to have that conversation. So if we don't get done with, the redevelopment resources contract until, June or July, we'll get more serious in the conversation with them after that. But I do think we can start by talking about what they do, meeting with them, maybe some members of this body and some members of their body, I don't know, but begin the work that would lead to, are we looking for something more, something different, whatever, that to fold into that process. And the timing is a little bit awkward, I get what you're saying, but I think in the broader sense, we have to give that notice. So if we're gonna do it, we may as well do it. And then if we decide we don't need to, or we decide we wanna go another direction, fine.
Alderman Stauber.
I had similar questions that Alderperson Spiros, the timing of it, but if there's one group that really shines for economic development, I don't mean to cast any clouds over the others, but Visit Marshfield is one of them. And I think that when we do have the consultant come in, it may be just a minor tweaking, have you considered doing this or doing that? But it's a great organization, great board of directors, and their ability to flex a little bit recently when some financial assistance was needed for the Parks and Rec Department development, that was appreciated. But I do hear what you're saying, the timing, to me, this is just a notification of our intent, not locking anything in, the way I look at it.
Yeah, and again, if I could say one more time, this is not a knock or a negative toward Visit Marshfield in any way, shape, or form. They do great work. I think I documented some of it in my comments, in terms of partnering with others, in terms of the festival that they run, in terms of bringing a lot of awareness and visibility to this community that makes people want to come here and check us out. So this is not a negative, but the timing is such, and we only do this once every so many years, to, I think, have that conversation, meet with them as needed, talk about it, and make a decision on how to move forward. Like I said, there's no preconceived notion in this announcement at all on my part.
Alderman Tompkins?
And just to clarify, Steve, I thought I read in the packet that because we have to give notice a year ahead of time, which is what we're doing right now, if we don't do that, then we can't change this contract for 3 years.
It automatically renews for 3 years.
It automatically renews. So this is I think, very appropriate for just, especially when we're going to do a strategic plan and everything, to say, this is our opportunity to say, pause, look at what we need and what we're doing, and then look at the contract again.
That's well said. I mean, I think it's a prudent thing to do. I think if we had contracts with any of the other people that work with us on if we had a contract with Main Street Marshfield or Mackey or anybody else we partner with that came up with this time, I'd probably be recommending the same thing. If it's one of those contracts that would automatically renew for multiple years. It's not a demerit, it's not a negative, but it makes sense, I think.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. Item S, suggested items for further agendas. Alderman Warman?
Thank you. I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but we have talked about this a lot over the last year. I really think we need to get some budget meetings moving. We're slowly encroaching on our standard budget timeline where we're going to miss that completely again. So as much as we probably don't want to do that, I think we need to.
Anyone else? Item T, adjourn to closed session under Wisconsin Statute, Chapter 19.85. (1)E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Consideration of contracting options related to proposed sewer lining project. We have a motion by Alderman O'Reilly, second by Alderman Tompkins. All those in favor to go into closed session, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Aye.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
We are in closed session, and I apologize, I have to take just a couple minutes. Action on matters discussed in closed session if appropriate.
Oh, hang on a sec. Never mind, go ahead.
We have a motion by Alderman Stauber, a second by Alderman Cran, and Alderman Stauber, your motion is?
Motion is to proceed with the contract for Moose and Brothers for sewer lining as approved by the Board of Public Works and as ratified by the Common Council.
And you okay seconding that, Alderman Cran? Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Mr. Fire?
Yes.
Mr. Rigel?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item W, who'd like to adjourn the meeting?
I don't have it in here.
Sorry,
Take a motion.
Oh.
No,
okay.
it's a really nice magazine though.
Do that.
Alderman Tompkins and
And
Alderman Werman, Alderman Fire, yes.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
The
everybody.
meeting is
I'd like to
adjourned.
tell
Thank you.
everybody-
Talking about